Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Singapore Business Group webinar. The topic today is the investment to specialized industrial parks in Vietnam during the COVID-19 pandemic. This is in collaboration with PM3 SIP as well as Baker McKenzie. I'll introduce myself. My name is Chung. I'll be your host and moderator today. I'm also a partner with Baker McKenzie. At this point, I'd like to acknowledge our co-hosts very quickly: the Australian Chamber of Commerce, British Chamber of Commerce, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, the Council of Taiwanese Chambers of Commerce, Hong Kong Business Association, the Italian Chamber of Commerce, Indian Business Chamber, Malaysian Business Chamber, and the Thai Business Association. I'd also like to thank our national corporate sponsors, our platinum sponsor, Capital Land, diamond sponsors, UOB, BSIP, silver sponsors, KPMG, Phu My Specialized Industrial Park, and Hammock Hotel. All right, just very quickly, introduction to the Singapore Business Group. Started in 1999 by a small group of Singaporeans doing business in Vietnam, and now it's grown to a size of about more than 315 members. Apart from catering to the social element, of course, we also foster business relationships with other business communities, whilst promoting the social, cultural, educational, and charitable activities. At this point, it gives me great pleasure to briefly introduce the speakers. I do believe you can see them on screen, and I'd like to assure you that we're quite socially distanced as well. So to my right, Kazama Toshio-san, Kazama-san, who is Deputy General Director, Tan Binh Phu My Joint Stock Company. Kazama-san has over 40 years of experience in the field of industrial machinery equipment, as well as industrial real estate investment and management in different countries all over the world. He started his career at Nisho Iowa. That's a precursor of Sojitz Corporation. He also spent the last 18 years working in Vietnam as GD of Long Binh and Long Duc Industrial Park, which was invested by Sojitz Corporation. Since 2015, he has worked in the Tan Binh Phu My Joint Stock Company as the role of Deputy General Director to set up the investment and management of the Phu My Specialized Industrial Park in Baria, Vung Tau Province. I'm also pleased to introduce my friend and partner, Lan Phong. Lan Phong heads up the Corporate Services Department of the Vietnam offices. Lots of experience in advising international clients as they face market access issues and having to work through the foreign direct investment procedures. She specializes in M&A, corporate and commercial law, and has extensive experience in real estate matters amongst other industries. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand the presentation over to Kazama-san.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very honored to have this opportunity to present SBG webinar. It's my first experience in my life to present webinar. Okay, today I have prepared 3 agenda. So let's start. First agenda: the economic situation and everyday attraction Vietnam during COVID-19. First, starting this page, I want to say thank you very much to Vietnamese government, because Vietnamese government controlled well the COVID-19, and many countries admired and praised Vietnamese COVID-19 situation. Now my wife back to Japan since last January, but she called me many times. She would come back to Ho Chi Minh soon, because she believes Ho Chi Minh City is the most safe and best city, but she cannot come back. But anyhow, this is my private matters. Okay. So I'll explain about the Vietnamese COVID-19 situation. So Vietnam first infected is coming from China from January 23, but the government stopped international flight operation quickly in January. Then without controlling well, and up to April 17, there's a very small infectious. And from April 17 until last July 20, community infections. But we so-called second wave coming in Da Nang, central part of Vietnam. And until now, nearly 600 people infected. But this week, this wave is now slowed down, and I think the second wave nearly stopped over. I think very quickly, Vietnamese COVID-19 will finish. Then next, I move to explain about the Vietnamese economy. First, for GDP, or first half year of 2020. From 2010, 10 years ago, during 10 years ago, Vietnamese GDP growth rate is very stable, upgrading. And last year, it was recorded more than 7%. And also, 2 years, more than 7%. And beginning of this year, we have expected about 6.8% of GDP growth rate. But due to COVID-19, first 6 months, it was 1.81%. Very dropped down. Then next one, for institute forecast for GDP growth, including Vietnam and other countries. Maybe you can see that this data. In Vietnam, most specific growth rate is from 2.7 to 2.8%, and most optimistic from ADB 4.1%. But you can see all the South Asian countries, all the economic growth is minus or nearly 0%. So if we compare for the another ASEAN countries, Vietnam GDP is still plus, and number one in ASEAN countries. Next, I explain about the trade. First one is export. This shows 10 years record of the export volume and import volume. During 10 years, nearly 10% of increase in the export volume. And 2018, average increase of the export volume is exceeding 2 billion American dollars. This catch up Thailand now. So 2018, Vietnam catch up Thailand, and average monthly export volume is 2 billion American dollars. And 2019, this average volume is 2.2 billion, already exceeding Thailand, number one in ASEAN countries. But also from due to COVID slowdown up to May. But from May, this is also export increasing 5.3%, and also import 6.5%. So slightly recovered. Okay, so this is about also trade, showing about the country-wise and also product-wise. Country-wise, computer and electric products and parts and maximum machinery is still stable, and 2-digit increasing. And also country for the America and China is very stable. But about sewing products and footwear can slow down because of the market of Europe and America is slowed down. Okay, so next I explain about Vietnam FDA situation. So this 10 years, Vietnam is there is very stable. to increasing both capital and numbers. But also this year, due to the COVID slowdown, big down, but only one big project from Singapore, but LNG power plant project. This investment is 4 billion. This is contribute for this year. If without this big project, I think very big down of the figure. Next. Right. This is a show about the industry and country-wise. Almost except Lifeline, almost coming down, and also the country, especially for Japan, up to August, 62.7% down compared to last year, because no Japanese investor from February cannot visit to Vietnam. I think this is the main reason. Okay. This is the impact of COVID for the sales. This is Vietnam. I think still Vietnam also not so big impact, minus impact than other countries. Sales decrease 65%. This is data by Jetro to Japanese company in June data. Next one is for the operation status because of the impact of COVID. Also, Vietnam is very small. 40% or reduced operation rate, and operation business restrictions on 36%. If we compare Indonesia or Philippines, Vietnam compared to other countries, Vietnam has less impact on operation because of Vietnam's government controls COVID. Therefore, not so big damage for the economy. Next. So next is my second agenda for case study of Fujitsu Special Industry Park. So this project map is our industry park. Total area is 1,000 hectares. This is a main national highway 51. This side is Ho Chi Minh, and this goes to southern part, Punta. Total area near 1,000. We divided to 3 phases. This is a first phase, 376, and almost this area infrastructure nearly finished. And the 20 company has already contracted that land. And among 20 are 12 Japanese and 3 Korean, and 4 Vietnamese, 1 Vietnamese, and 1 Switzerland joint venture. And beginning of this year, we have expected all sold, all the phase 1. But because of COVID, we cannot make any final negotiation to the customer, investor. So therefore, all these areas pending, maybe move to another year. This is second phase, 500 hectares. We are now slowly starting for the construction this area, 500. And expect the handover after 1.5 years later. And this is a third phase, 120 hectares, including 18 hectares of the golf course. Last Monday, we have signed the MOU with Japanese golf developer to complete for 18 holes, and we hope to play 18 holes golf within 3 years. After complete of this golf course construction, to rent view of golf course, we start to construct a villa and apartment for expert or maybe foreign pilot or crew, because within 5 years, new international airport will be opened near from our industry park, 30 minutes. So we are now government is constructing for the access road to seaport. This road will be completed within this year. From here, only 2 kilometers, so it's very close to international deep sea port, 6 container terminal, and more than 10 general cargo terminals here. And we have one more access road, southern part, and this will be completed within 4 years. 2 here. Okay, next page. So I must explain about why we are specialized in SPAC. Because in Vietnam there's 300 in the SPAC, and among this in the SPAC, Japanese investment is 3 in the SPAC, with 3 investors with 6 in the SPAC. Northern part, 4 in the SPAC, and southern part, 2 in the SPAC. All Japanese investors fully occupied because of high standard of infrastructure and also management of good support. Therefore, Vietnam government want to invite Japanese style of the investment in the SPAC. Then, 2011, both governments agreed to build in the SPAC in Vietnam. This, of course, we specialize in the SPAC. Now, only one special in the SPAC in Vietnam. This is a Phu My. So, this is an incentive or advantage of in the SPAC. We have 2. One is more 2 years longer leasing period, and one is the land use fee will be exempted 20 years. This is advantage. Next page. Okay, back to this one and location. I must explain. This is Vietnam, and this is Ho Chi Minh, and this is a Phu My in the SPAC. Distance is using this highway 60 kilometers, about 70 minutes or 75 minutes. Every morning I come from Ho Chi Minh and come back evening to Ho Chi Minh, because at that time my wife is waiting. From here to Bun Tao is 40 minutes by car, 35 kilometers. And why this is a very good location, very close to international seaport, and also very close to national road, and very close to Ho Chi Minh, only 1 hour. And also existing Ho Chi Minh Airport, Tan Son Nhat Airport, from here 65 kilometers, about 1 hour 30 minutes. A new airport, Long Tan International Airport, will be opened within 5 years. So from here, only 29 kilometers, 30 minutes. So this is, I think, very ideal location, southern part of Vietnam. And also, I must explain about the very big advantage of these areas. Very close to international deep sea port, and also we have a mountain, very close mountain. Mountain has 2 lakes. This is a water resources lake, and this is very clean and soft water, and we can use a lot of water. This is very big advantage for industry. And also in Bun Tao area, there is a gas and oil can be produced, and this area can use natural gas by pipeline. From this natural gas, there's a 6 natural gas power plant, and producing 4,100 megawatt. And our industry park is located from this power station only 7 kilometers. So means we can receive very stable power. So means our Phu My special industry park is best location, best suitable for the heavy and chemical industry, and also basic materials. So not only housing infrastructure, we have also supporting for software infrastructure. This is one-stop service before operation and after operation. This is also one of our big advantage to supporting to the customer, because industry park is leasing period is our case is 57 years. So means 57 years we continuously supporting. We have responsibility to support our tenants. Next one is ESG and SDG. Nowadays, many Japanese business took great importance on ESG investment and operation. And this contributes to achieve SDG. And from this, increase company's value and create its positive image. So I must explain a little bit about why ESG and SDG is very important for inviting FDI. Before foreign investor is looking for a new location, they're considering for about the feasibility of the project and the investment return or manpower or country risk. But nowadays, the management of the company is asking one more, is ESG score. Therefore, all investor is asking also our IndusPark, how our IndusPark can contribute for ESG. So therefore, ESG, our IndusPark, most important is the Eco IndusPark. This also contributes their investment judgment. So this is my last solution of IndusPark to overcome COVID-19. I put 3, but I think there's a many, but I put 3 because of the time. So one is approach potential customer via online channel. Today, my first experience in my life is webinar. And also recently we are experience about online meeting. We have also started. And after I started online meeting, I think very useful. Now I understand. And next is focus on existing investor in better who would like to expand our project. Number 3, prepare and complete our infrastructure and utility to be ready for welcome new customers after COVID-19. I hope Vietnam will finish COVID-19 very soon. So therefore, nowadays we are brushed up ISO 9001 and ISO 14001, and also training young staff for the marketing and technical matters. So my time is coming over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kazama-san. I mean, CFO, thank you for an excellent presentation. Have the next slide, please. So this is a bit more information, contact details of Phu My 3 specialized industrial park. And indeed, these are very difficult and challenging times. So we have to adapt. As you said, there's a lot of webinars and online meetings, and it's just wonderful to have you join us today. Okay, now I think I'll move over to Lan Feng, and then she's going to touch on the legal and the regulatory side of things, especially as foreign investors look to come into Vietnam. And I think one of the key things that she'll be talking about is that yes, Vietnam's a long-standing investment regulatory framework, but then there's also new laws that are coming up in 2021. So over to Lan Feng.
Well, thank you, Chung. I hope that you can hear us okay. So also thank you, Kazama-san, for a very informative sharing. I think that I generally agree with you that Vietnam is doing quite well during the pandemic, given the challenges. And I also observed that, one of the bright spots in Vietnam is that, and it's related to your industry, is that industrial zone land is still getting a lot of attention from foreign investors. And it looks like that the foreign investors are trying to get really prepared for a comeback after we step out of the pandemic. So that's good point. And the other point that I want to mention is that since you are Japanese, we also hope that more Japanese investors will come to Vietnam and relocate their production facilities to Vietnam, because of the trade tension, and also because that the Japanese government is having some initiative to encourage Japanese, including Vietnam. So that's a big hope. So, I mean, I will talk about the laws and regulations a little bit that govern the investment activity in Vietnam. In particular, the laws and regulations that have immediate impact and governance on the approval procedures for the investment projects. First and foremost, I think that as a foreign investor, you should be aware of these few laws that I mentioned in here. Vietnam is a member to many international trade treaties, such as ASEAN, WTO, CPTPP, and the most recent one is EVFTA. These international treaties are important because under these treaties, Vietnam the treaties provide for the rights and obligations of the members to the treaty. So it shows the rights obligation that Vietnam has to other member countries, and also to the people and the organization from other member countries when they trade in Vietnam, when they do investment in Vietnam. So this is a very important source of legal framework for you to refer to. Then obviously, because you are making investment in Vietnam, the investment law is the main law. It's basically from foreign investor perspective, the investment law provides for market access rights and also mainly for investment procedures, in Vietnam. The current investment law 2015 will be soon supplemented and replaced by the investment law 2020 by January 1st next year. I think we will cover a little bit about the changes under the investment law 2020 later on. And I think the other law is also very important is the competition law. Competition law provides for basically regulates the behavior of market players, different legal entities in the market that may have an impact on the competition of the market. So it's a very important law. Obviously, in addition to these laws, we also have the enterprise law, PPP law, public-private partnership law, and then the securities law that all take effect January 1st next year. So those are the key laws that as an investor that you should pay attention to. So foreign investors, when they make investment in Vietnam, mainly there are two ways. The first way would be to invest in a greenfield project, meaning that invest in a new investment project. And the second way would be to acquire shares or charter capital portions in an existing Vietnamese company. For the new investment project, foreign investors will be subject to a twofold approval process to include, to obtain the investment registration certificate or IRC for short. And upon the issuance of the IRC, then foreign investor will submit application to obtain the enterprise registration certificate for ERC. So when the ERC is issued, foreign investor will have a legal entity officially set up, ready to implement the investment project. A few words here regarding, how you approach the government for approval of your investment project. Basically, the procedure is very front-load, meaning that you will, as an investor, you will have to propose and provide a lot of information in advance to the government authorities, so they will review, and then if everything is okay, they would approve by way of issuance of the IRC for you. So I think first and foremost, you need to let the government know the business activities that you intend to do in Vietnam, so that they can check and let you know in terms of market access, whether you have the right to access the market for that kind of business activities. The good news is that production is allowed 100% for foreign direct investment. So for the majority of foreign investors and projects in an industrial zone, there's no restriction in terms of market access. But nonetheless, if you are also making investment in some services sectors, then you need to pay attention. In the government, they will also check different sort of schedule on specific commitments in services to make a decision whether you will be allowed to do this service project in Vietnam, whether Vietnam has opened its market for that kind of particular service. In terms of capital, in terms of capital, basically, you need to show to the government that you financially able to implement the project, and you show them by way of audited financial statements or some bank statements, and things like that. And also, you can just design a capital, a chartered capital or total investment capital that is sufficient for you to implement the project. Only a few services that are subject to minimum charter requirements, like this real estate business, education, healthcare, for example. But then for production companies, you would just make a decision based on your business plan. Also, you need to identify the location where you will build or locate your investment project. You will need to at least secure a letter of intent from the landlord, so that you submit to the government. And the location is also very important because it's beside the authority that you will be dealing with. Let's say if your project is located in an industrial zone or specialized industrial zone, the authority would be the Industrial Zone Management Board. However, if your company's or investment project is based outside an industrial zone, then it's the local Department of Planning and Investment that will be in charge. And also, at the very initial stage, you will need to provide details and actually passport of the people that will serve different roles in your management team. So everything, all the information needs to be provided up and to assess. Obviously, this is quite time-consuming and detailed process, and it can face certain challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, all the documentation to be submitted to the government must bear wet signatures, so like real signatures from the signatories, and also as part of the application, you have to submit many the corporate papers that are legalized and consularized in the home countries. During normal time, it may take you 1 to 2 weeks to obtain, but during COVID-19 pandemic, then it may take you a lot longer than that to obtain signature, legalized copy, and everything. And as Kazama-san also mentioned before, the investment sort of situation can be impacted quite a bit still because of the restriction on international traveling to Vietnam. And I understand that only the companies that are already established in Vietnam and have operation can apply to the government and be granted some special permits for the employees to come in, and that's really restrict who can come to Vietnam during this time. All right, so the second way of making investment into Vietnam is that you acquire shares or chartered capital portion in an existing Vietnamese company. Obviously, you need to check market access restriction first to see if you are able to make that acquisition. And when in terms of procedures, the IRC will not be required. But you may be subject to what we call the M&A approval. So basically, M&A approval is the preliminary approval of a foreign investor. M&A approval is required, particularly for an acquisition if foreign investor purchase a market access restriction sector company. So if you make investment into such conditional sector company, then you should be subject to M&A approval. Also, if the acquisition results in foreign capital accounts for 51% or more of the total chartered capital of the target company, then M&A approval is also applied. Okay, so when you obtain the M&A approval, you've gone halfway. If the target company is a limited liability company, then it will need to go and amend its ERC to reflect the name of the buyer. If the target company is a joint stock company, then it doesn't have to amend the ERC, but it needs to notify the relevant DPI of the foreign shareholder. So those are the corporate approvals from the angle of the competition law. Certain joint venture transactions, certain acquisition transaction may be subject to the merger filing requirements. In terms of acquiring into an existing Vietnamese company, merger filing requirement may apply if the acquisition accounts for more than 50% of the target company, or acquiring the controlling interest or controlling rights of the target company, obviously subject to further threshold condition as well, such as the value of the transaction or combined market shares of the party in the transaction. Next slide, please. All right, so a little bit about the new investment law that will take effect January 1st next year. There are a few new changes, but I think the most important change that is introduced by the new investment law probably is the negative list approach. This means that under the new investment law, the government will issue a government decree, and they will compile a list of specific market access restrictions sectors and the applicable restrictions and conditions. They collect information from different international treaties, as we have mentioned, domestic laws, ordinances, and government decrees. And Article 9 of the new investment law provides that if foreign investor invest in any sectors that are not listed in such list, then you will be treated as domestic investors. So it's, on the face of the language, it sounds like the new investment law has provided broader market access right to foreign investors. But however, since the government retains the right to issue that list and amend that list, we have looked at the first draft of the draft implementing decree, and in contrary to the positive spirit of the investment law, the draft implementing decree takes quite negative approach, where market access condition list is quite long, and it suggests to include very general, very broad category, including any sectors that do not yet exist at the time of the decree. So any new service that will come on later may become restriction, and then we also include any sectors that Vietnam did not commit national treatment in the WTO specific service list. And also the proposed list does not include any details on the applicable conditions and restrictions applicable to foreign investors. So if this approach is adopted as is, then it sounds like maybe the negative list may not work the way it should be. All right. The other change under the new investment law is the definition of foreign investors, because we know that foreign investor is subject to market access restriction, and so also subject to approval procedures that are more stringent as compared to domestic investor. The question is, who is foreign investor under the investment law? So foreign investor obviously are foreign national or foreign companies. So that's clear. However, if the foreign national and foreign companies make investment in Vietnam, in, let's say, F1 companies, if the foreign investor capital accounts for more than 50% of the total capital, that makes the F1 companies become, or be treated as foreign investor. So when F1 companies make further investment in F2 company, and the F1 company's capital contribution accounts more than 50% of the chartered capital of the F2 company, then the F2 company will be considered as foreign investor in the subsequent investment. So the change is It used to be 51% or more. Now it's more than 50%. Okay. And this is my last slide regarding the investment approval procedures under the new investment law. For a new greenfield investment project, the procedures remain the same, pretty much the same. In terms of acquisition of shares and charter capital in an existing Vietnamese company, the requirement on M&A approval seems to be relaxed or simplified a little bit. So first and foremost, if foreign investor acquire shares or capital in a market access restricted company, it will be subject to M&A approval only when such acquisition results in foreign capital percentage in that company increase. So that is a change as compared to the current investment law. And also for any other sector, if the acquisition in a Vietnamese company results in foreign capital accounts more than 50% of the target companies, but in the provided that there's a change in foreign capital ratio, there must be a change in foreign capital ratio, then M&A approval is required. Whether it's changed from less than 50% to more than 50%, or from already more than 50% to a higher percentage. But there must be some change in foreign investment capital investment ratio, and M&A approval is required. As compared to the current law, let's say, for a 100% foreign-owned company, if you increase charter capital, you would also be subject to M&A approval because the capital increase, even though the capital percentage does not increase. So, but right now, still M&A approval. Under the new investment law from next year, if the charter capital increase, but the foreign capital ratio of percentage remain the same, let's say 1% doesn't change, then it doesn't require you to go and obtain the M&A approval. That's the only change. Some other remains the same, like the merger filing approval of the competition law. Same, under the enterprise law, if there a change in foreign shareholders or owner of a limited liability company, then the target company will need to amend the license or notify the foreign shareholder to the DPI. So I think that brings my presentation to an end. So keep listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Lan Tong. I know there's quite a bit to digest, but don't worry, the slides will be shared with everyone. I think the key takeaway is that Vietnam is definitely open for business and investments. And even in this challenging time, I think service providers, industrial zones, industrial parks are doing best to serve investors and clients that are looking to come in. There are certain changes in law and the investment regime that will take effect next year. And again, those are things to look out for. I think I want to bring the conversation back. Now we're going to the Q&A session. I do have some questions in front of me, but because I'm hogging the mic, so I'm going to ask the questions that I like. All right, so yeah, so let's talk about the industries and the sectors that come into the industries and sectors that come into Vietnam. That come into your specialized industrial park or industrial zones in general. So we know that the government is very keen to attract high-tech investment. We know that they try to give a lot of incentives when they to bring in high-tech investment. So I guess my question for Kazama-san is that to the extent that you can share, can you tell us a bit about the clients, the type of industry that have come into whether into your park or to other industrial zones? Is it largely electronics? Is it chemicals? So hope you can tell us a bit more about the sectors.
So about the first question for the specialized, I have just explained this one. But in addition to this one, normally industrial zone, they ask me about what the difference from the housing development, industrial development. Quite different because our target is not selling the lands. because we are leasing the land 50 years or 70 years, means we have responsibility to support the tenants during leasing period. So we must supply our utility, power and water, everything, and also our support during this 50 years or 70 years. So why? How we can keep such a good service? And nobody, if in the spark sell down in one time, but we are also selling the power and water and gas. This is also a big profit, but small profit, but accumulated, and we invest such income to next investment for repair or maintenance of the road or changing the underground cable or piping. So therefore, this is a very special in the spark. And also, we have more than 100 engineering staff. This is very good enough to support for the tenants. So most important is Japanese words, omotenashi. Maybe this is most important is after operation is most important, not income. After operation, how to support is most important by Japanese way. So second question, yes, housing area. I also explained my presentation. We have 120 hectares for the housing and the golf course, 18 for the golf course. After finish completion of the golf course, this rent view we will build for apartment villa housing area for mainly for the expert or foreign pilot or crew in this areas. Number 3 is luckily, fortunately, beside our East Park, natural gas pipeline from South China Sea passing through our Indus Park, and we can get this natural gas. And so this also gas, they have installed pipeline to the customer. So means we can supply natural gas by pipeline. And also luckily also we have our company, our invited one industrial gas supplier, naming Vietnam Japan Gas, supplying natural gas and oxygen, nitrogen, argon gas, and hydrogen gas. So this is for using for industrial gas. So we have 2 gas sources, natural gas and also industrial gas. This different, but we have 2. So number 4 is we have 1 hectare, 10,000 square meter is our minimum lot size. Number 5, at the moment, building ratio is changing from this February. Before it 60% of the total area. If 1 hectare, 6,000 hectares building ratio, but now changing 70%. So it means 70% building ratio. But this depends on this height of the building. But normally, if ground floor level is now 70% is our industry. Not only our industry, this is in all Vietnam. Number 6, yes, at the moment, we are selling 1 square meter, $150 per square meter. We have started 5 years ago, half of the price, $70 or $75, but now it's $150. Because 5 years ago, we have no infrastructure, no road, no pipeline, no power. At that time, we offer $70 or $75. But now we have a very nice infrastructure. So therefore, we can offer $150 per square meter.
For 70 years.
70 years.
70
years. So therefore, please compare 50 years, 70 years different. So it means 1 year price is cheap. Import tariff is possible. This one, maybe you know this one. New one, yes, because to import machinery, this asset is free because of this is for a production machinery is import is free. Second hand one, I have no experience. So
yeah, I think I'll just speak briefly about that.
Okay.
I can't answer that question specifically, but I do understand, that is ongoing questions and issues around import of second-hand machinery. So Vietnam is very concerned about electronic waste. Vietnam is very concerned about, whether, they want to attract the best investors. They want to attract the high-tech investors. So Vietnam, feels that they try to put in some policies and regulations to essentially discourage importation of second-hand equipment. Now that legal regime has changed over time. I think there used to be a residual value test to it. I think it was brought back. And then there are certain circumstances under which you can bring in equipment for refurbishment and to bring it out. But this question does come up because not every investor, not every investment needs the sort of latest and the newest equipment. Sometimes, as you all know, from a supply chain recalibration and moving, there's equipment that you could have somewhere else that for the products that you're doing is still perfectly good, still can be used for the products that you want to do, right? You don't have to bring in new machinery. So that's why there are questions around this. So for the person that raised this question, I think what we'll do is then we'll come back with some comments that the Singapore Business Group will share more broadly to address this. Okay, we are running short of time, but I did try to say that we're trying to push a bit to 3:05. So maybe Lan-Fong, a question for you, which is we all know that the first outbreak of COVID-19 in Vietnam, some of the regulators, the licensing authorities, they themselves had to sort of shut down for a bit or quasi-operational work from home, and we knew that was very disruptive. But now, as with the current measures that's put in place at the second outbreak, again, these are good and necessary measures, but it seems that it's not as restrictive as the last time. And I guess my question is, what's the experience on the investment? Do we feel that there's a slowdown now because concern of the second outbreak, or do you feel that this time around the regulators are basically working at that desk?
Thank you, Joe. I think luckily the second outbreak is more or less in Da Nang, Phu City.
Not Ho Chi Minh.
Not Ho Chi Minh or not Hanoi, and some the two major cities. I don't exactly know about the situation in Da Nang. I imagine that they would have imposed certain social distancing procedures applicable, in social context, social gatherings. But I think for government offices, I haven't heard that they're working from home completely or anything like that. I mean, so we know about that situation for the first outbreak in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, where the government authorities and some other non-essential businesses, they try not to have any social contact, and then they close. So filing would be made online, and then some physical application will be sent via the postal office. Some physical application will be delayed until after the resume of normal operation. So that was how it was conducted during the first outbreak, not so much during the second outbreak. So I would say that the working of the government authority offices very much normal during the second outbreak.
Back to one of my earlier questions, which is sort of the sectors and the type of clients that are coming to invest, to the extent that you are okay to share about naming names. Do you have a sense of which industries are looking to invest into Vietnam? Is it renewable energy? Is it electronics? Is it garments? And where are the interests coming from? either one of you can just share your thoughts.
All right, like I said, I think I've observed that more like traditional production facilities, consumer goods and things like that. Temporarily, the investors, they have sort of they put their business plans in postponement for now. But in some other industries, they are not slowing down. They're still looking for land in industrial zones in order to build factories, in order to build data centers, in order to build warehouses, all such facilities with modern equipment and everything, with the view of providing services to different types of investors, including domestic and foreign, after the pandemic expiry. I think those in real estate, in industrial land, in high tech, in tech area, are still doing very well. And e-commerce. I mean, e-commerce doesn't require brick and mortar stores, and so you also experience a lot of businesses trying to work by now in online meetings. So it's the same situation.
Yes, many logistic companies now they're looking for the rights.
Yeah, that's
logistic
correct. Yeah. So just moving slightly into the space, into the logistic and warehouse space. I mean, again, in this unique and challenging times, I think one of the phenomena that we see from a business and social point of view, it's already mentioned, in the rise of e-commerce, people ordering things online, payment solutions and infrastructure that goes with it. However, of course, not everything is not everything can be done online, because once you talk about physical delivery of a physical product, you still need the transportation, you need the logistics and warehousing. So indeed, as already commented on, we see continued interest and investments into the infrastructure, into the logistics and also the warehousing space. Yeah. Okay. I think maybe just to about people. All right. Maybe just some high-level thoughts around people. I guess number one would be sourcing of workers, skilled workers, technicians. Is that easy or challenging in Vietnam? If we have to bring skilled workers, technical experts from overseas, whether it's Japan, whether it's Korea, or say Singapore, is that going to be easy? Or is that going to be difficult? I know the challenges around it, but just happy to hear your thoughts around the sort of the HR side of things.
So about before Vietnam, labor intensive, like shoes or garment manufacturing is very popular. But nowadays, it's not easy to employ such labor intensive employees. And also, people also want to get a more high salary. So it means from now, I think Vietnam must try to more educated people plus skilled engineers. So we're looking for such field. And this means, high value for the products.
Right.
Then total Vietnam is coming up. But Vietnam is only one thing is automobile industry is not invested more. Only lockdown, not like Thailand and Indonesia.
They carry on.
Therefore, my dream is invited, not for engine automobile. Power. Power is, maybe you can start automobile, because not so difficult, only battery.
All right, battery technology.
But I think, Vietnam population is 96 million. And already reaching for GDP 3/3 per capita. So you can see China 18 years ago, and Thailand 8 years ago, Indonesia 5 years ago. So GDP passing 3,000. They start by the car. Vietnam nearly. So therefore, at the moment, Vietnam sales in this country yearly 300,000 still very small. But I think this may be growing up rapidly. Thailand, they are selling 1 year, 1 million. Population is Thailand 66 million, if compare.
Right.
So therefore, I think maybe you have already car, right? But the people, many people using the automobile and maybe family, 3 or 4 people. But they said, no, Kazama-san, we want to buy the car. At the moment, anyhow, if salary up, we'll buy the car. Sure. Therefore, I think, demand of the car is very big, but Vietnam is no more engine because of the climate conditions, the environment. I think target should be more battery car. This is my dream also. I want to invite battery.
Yeah, I think, and it's aspirations towards IR 4.0, smart cities, definitely electric vehicles, and maybe in the future autonomous vehicles will be things that we see on the road. But then, some would say that the roads are a bit crowded already.
Yeah, yes.
So hopefully with the new PPP law, it creates incentive enough for further investments into the infrastructure space. So Lantong, I guess, again, just on the HR side, what are you seeing? People flying in, not able to do it, or I think there's a bit of a slow.
Right, yeah. Like I said, it has been slowed down because of the international traveling restrictions still. But from the perspective of a Vietnamese person, I have full confidence in Vietnamese people. The proof is that Vietnamese families spend a lot of money in education for their children, and we have the country has good schools. We have polytechnic universities that have and then we have all the universities that can attract even foreign students come and study here, and then our students go abroad in different countries to gain knowledge. So the Vietnamese people will be coming up shortly. So I don't see that as a shortage of high-skilled workforce.
Yeah, definitely HR is the number one resource, something that should be treasured, something that should be developed. So I think on that particular note, I think we bring this webinar to a close. Again, with a thought to people, I would say to friends and colleagues that maybe now are still facing challenges there. I think it's part of Hanoi. Certainly our thoughts are with you. And then in the meantime, I just wish to thank my panelists. Okay, Kazama-san,
thank you.
And Lantong, thank you very much for joining us today. And finally, thank all of you for joining us on this webinar. I wish you a good Friday, a good weekend ahead, and everybody stay healthy and be safe. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.